I heartily welcome you all to this today's webinar, Lessons from COVID-19, Game-Changing Strategies, Session 3. Firstly, I'd like to thank the MBA department, PES University, for giving us this amazing opportunity to increase our insight on the current situation in various fields. Today, we have with us two experts from sales, Mr. Gaurav Padlik, Branch Head, Hyderabad ITC Limited, and Mr. Santosh Banerjee, Accountant Executive Sales, Dell Mumbai. Hello, Mr. Gaurav and Mr. Santosh. It's a pleasure having you with us.
Yeah, hi Kaveri, thank you so much.
Hi, thank you.
We also have a very own GK Suresh sir with us as a moderator, and also Biplab sir helping us in the back end, joining us today. Let us quickly dive into the introduction of our experts joining us today. Mr. Gaurav Padlik has over 12 plus years experience in FMCG across food, personal care and tobacco. He is currently the branch head, Hyderabad at ITC Limited. Within consumer marketing domain, his problem solving and creative interests lie in the area of building future-ready sales and distributed systems. He aspires to be a scholar in academia, or otherwise wants to advance interdisciplinary researches at the intersection of philosophy, psychology, theology, cultural studies, and the business of consumer brands. A heartily welcome to you, Mr. Gaurav.
Thank you, Kaveri. Thank you so much.
Next, Mr. Santosh Banerjee. He has over 10 years experience in sales as key accounts manager for SMB and large enterprises, business development and client management. He is currently working as account executive, sales, Dell, Mumbai. The one key concept he believes in is to transform a small story into a big success. A warm welcome to you as well, Mr. Santosh Banerjee.
Thank you so much, Kaveri.
Now, without any further ado, let's just jump right into the expert experience and opinions, starting with Mr. Santosh.
Yeah, thank you so much for setting up the stage. And I'm really glad, and thank you so much, Biplab, and thank you so much, PS College, for giving me this opportunity to share my view on the current situation. So initially I thought, okay, let me present a long PPT, like 100-page PPT, which you guys are normally habituated to see. But don't worry, I don't have any PPT with me. So I have only a few things which I really wanted to share with you, which is from my personal experience. So I like to cover a little bit about what exactly I do in the organization. That's the first thing. Second thing, a little bit about the technology and the changes and the priority of the CIO. And the third part, which I really most like, about the sales. What exactly the sales, what exactly we do, and how we do the sales before the destruction of the economy and after the destruction of the economy. So as you all know, sales is all about the meeting the customer, and now we are not able to meet the customer. So how will do the sales? So initially it was a very paranoid situation for each and everybody, even for sales rep and even for customer. We are not habituated to close the deal without face-to-face meeting. At least 4 to 5 meeting is required for the large deal closure. When I'm talking about the large deal, I'm really talking about more than 1 crore and all. So that deal required at least 4 to 5 times visit the customer, understand their requirement, understand their pain point, then move to the technology part. What is the technology? What is the competition guys are quoting, and how we are superior on the competition part, and then come into the negotiation part, where the negotiation is really hard. The 2-3 times we need to visit for the negotiation. Then one time we again visit for the collecting the PO. Now, after this situation, we don't have this opportunity to meet the customer multiple times. So this is really a game changer, and this is really a new trend which we are following up. Initially, we have seen that people are not ready to come up the Zoom call or Skype call or any video collaboration app. So they waited for some time. When the initially lockdown happened in the month of March, they waited for a long time actually to start up, and they believe that everything will be normal again. But matter of fact, this is the new normal. You cannot go back your earlier stage now. So we need to struggle, and we need to win in this current situation, and we need to find the new innovation and technology to overcome this stage. So I really miss my sutta break and obviously the tea break, which is very important part of the sales, because a lot of deal happen during the tea break. So all the front end sales guy must acknowledge that fact. So now come to the digital transformation, which basically we talk about. So there's two things. Always, I like to compare with my own organization, what we are doing and how we are helping our customer to provide and go through the same journey. So Dale, as an organization, we have around 1,65,000.
Sorry, Santosh, could you speak a bit louder? Maybe get the microphone a bit closer.
Sure. I will do that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Is better now, right?
Yeah, if you can speak a bit louder. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So Dale, we have globally almost 1,65,000 employees, and almost 65% employee was doing work from home earlier. So they are actually enabled of doing work from home before this situation. But post this situation, our IT have done the tremendous work and they move the IT in the next level. And now we are 95% people, they are enabled from do work from home. So there is no challenge from the IT front. Now, how we achieve that and what is the digital transformation? So before coming up the digital transformation, I like to highlight few points. What the CEO thinking on the digital transformation? What is their challenges? What is their agenda? So if I like to tell you the few points about what is their challenges, which the CEO right now facing on the digital transformation in their organization. One is the implementing new technology. Second is the creating the business model. And third is the changing culture. So changing culture is really very important, which changing culture cannot be done from the management side. Also employee can need to be take an important part of that to change the culture. And what is the new agenda for the CEO? Like create a trust with the customer, define a new venue, the digital economy and organization role and partner, and ensure the reliable digital service and experience. Because digital service and experience is the main key important part of the innovation. And what are the top priority for the CEO at this point of time, which is maybe the critical infrastructure, customer, capability, and industry ecosystem. So these are the major thinking what CEO right now they are thought of. So what are the investment which we can expect from those customer or those accounts? So if I tell you the top priority investment for 2020 will be like remote learning, will be one of the great things. Then enterprise social network, then cloud computing and video conferencing, data security. These all will be taken a very important role in future for the organization. Now, as per analyst, this current situation and economy is basically a U-shaped economy. So U-shape, there is a two part. One is the response and another part is the recovery. So response means where that initially the pandemic situation happened and the business continuity and the crisis was the major challenge for the customer, that how they wanted to continue their business. So that was the major challenge. And then it was come on the ROI, where the company share and company that profitability come drastically down. And right now we are just below the shape of the U-shape, below that U-shape stage, where we are expecting that economy will recover now. So how it will recover? There's two things. One is that definitely the investment. So we are seeing a lot of critical investment in coming in a different segment. And another is innovation. So now, as I earlier mentioned, that we cannot expect that it will go to the earlier stage before COVID. So this is the new normal, and we have to cope up with this new thing. And the new thing, new industry will be survive if they are digitally transformed. Now, what kind of digital transformation we are expecting from different segment? So when I'm talking about the different segment, I like to mention here like a government segment, transport, manufacturing, IT, ITS, all this different division of the organization. Like government, we can see the trusted data and the user-friendly digital service. So government will come up with a lot of app where the app will do most of the work. So that is the plan for the government. Transport will be more when the data sharing and the hyper tracking and the traceability. Manufacturing will be increase the automation and the data centric. And the education is basically the online and the distance based. And service will be anywhere and everywhere. So now when we're talking about the digital era and digital transformation, so I always remember there's a 4 pillar of the digital transformation. One is the workforce transformation, and second is the IT transformation, third is the application transformation, and fourth is the security transformation. So when I'm talking about the workforce transformation, so workforce transformation is basically your client and age transformation, like what laptop and what desktop you are using, and you are using your enterprise data at your home. And so data has to be very much securely safe, and data cannot be lost any point of time, because this is not your data, it is your organization data. So that is how our workforce transformation comes a very important role. Now, what we are doing, lot of customers, they are buying the client device, like business model, not the consumer series of model, business model of notebook, where the security, manageability, and the scalability at highest level. And we provide the durability and the service at that level where the enterprise data can survive and that organization can use that peacefully for 10 to 12 hours a day. Any normal laptop, it cannot be run for at least 6 to 7 hours maximum, because after that you will see there's a lot of problem. But you never seen an ATM machine is shut down. ATM machine is always run 24/7. So that is the business class or different class of system which we are providing in terms of workforce transformation for the organization. Now come to the IT transformation. IT transformation, basically we are talking about the consolidated entire IT hardware, where we are talking about the server, HCI, and the VMware virtualization. So virtualization is very important role at this point of time. If your application is virtualized, then only you can able to access from the remote location. I missed one part, which is really interesting. In workforce transformation, most of the guys who know the VDI part is there, client is there, but there's a new trend called edge computing. Edge computing is basically an IoT device. So that IoT device itself have a computing power and itself have an AI built in that. For a beautiful example, which I can remember, how the technology using by the manufacturing industry, Tesla car, Tesla self-drive car. You guys must be aware of the Tesla come up with a self-drive car, where, sorry, driverless car. I'm sorry, it's a driverless car. So that driverless car, how it has happened, there is a edge device, and that edge device is inbuilt. They have an artificial intelligence, and they can take decision locally without transmitting data to the data center and come back from the data center. So there is a response gap. Suppose somebody is driving, there's a driverless car, you were sitting and somebody come and approach the car immediately. So fraction of second, that car need to take the decision, either that car will stop or bypass. By the edge computing, we are enabling that kind of support to the manufacturing industry where they can come up with this kind of innovation. So that's a really beautiful things on the workforce transformation. And one more interesting thing which I like to share, there is a one dairy farm, the Chitla Dairy Farm. This is nearby Kolhapur, Maharashtra. So dairy farm, how it is related to IT? You must be questioned that how it is related to IT. So like in Bangalore, we have Nandini, right? Amul. So those are the big dairy farm. Their production is the milk and milk-based product, paneer, ghee, and all those stuff. So what we did in Chetla Dairy Farm, so we provide them a complete data center, and they have provided a tag, GPS enabled tag, to the ear of the cow. And we call this entire story is a cow to cloud. So it was a very famous VMware case study, which is published in the VMware website, even Dell Technology website, cow to cloud. So what these guys are doing, they are putting just a chip and tag in the ear of the cow, and by that chip is definitely they are able to track the cow on GPS enable. That's the one part. They are able to do their blood profile, like a blood test, and they are able to provide the service to the remote location on the veterinary doctor. They are sending automatically, like any vaccination is pending, they are giving the reminder. So there's a lot of lot of milkmen, and they have their own cow. They are taking the service from this farm. Like they have 10 cow, and they are taking the service from this farm with a minimum amount they are spending. So they are getting the each and every information available every day morning in a SMS. So this is how cow is talking to human with the help of technology. So this is the transformation story, which is definitely inspiring. And there is a lot of like Manipal Hospital. So now healthcare, there is a lot of transformation story which you can see, like telemedicine. You no need to go to hospital. And if Manipal sent a ambulance at your place, that ambulance have a CCTV camera and surveillance inbuilt in that, where the operation theater doctor can see actually the ambulance patient, and they can able to guide that person how to treat that guy till he reach to the hospital, and everything will be ready. So these all are happened from the IoT and edge computing. So these are the one more important things which I don't want to disclose the name of the state. So one state, as a part of smart city project, they already implemented one new technology. So that is the surveillance technology. So that surveillance technology is built by the IoT devices, a lot of IoT devices, artificial intelligence, and real-time surveillance. So how does it work? So suppose any person have a criminal record, and that person is traveling to particular city, any particular city airport. So automatically the camera detect that person, and it will verify his data in the backend with the crime branch or the local police authority. And if this person have some criminal record, they will automatically start tracking those person, and they will send an automatic intimation to each and every police station, nearby police station, that this person is traveling from the other state and he have a criminal record and he is now traveling in your police station. Just a matter of precaution, do the needful. So this is all happened because of the technology, and this all of the real-time data. Now come to the like business continuity plan. What is happening basically in the end client, as I mentioned, plus VDI. VDI is a relatively a new topic which people are talking about, and we enable VDI by using VMware Horizon. There is a software called Horizon. By that, we provide a single button and your entire workforce will be VDI enabled. So that's the technology now, which is a zero touch, no intervention is required, and your enterprise structure, everything will be ready by that. And there's a lot of things happening on the SD-WAN market as well. So SD-WAN is basically the connectivity which we are talking about. This market is really, it was there, but it market is again seeing a very good growth at this point of time. SD-WAN is connecting the two different offices. Like for example, if Dell have around 12 office in India, and this 12 offices interconnected with the SD-WAN. And then definitely coming to the cloud computing. Cloud computing, again, a very tricky word, and this is actually a marketing word, the cloud computing. And technology behind this cloud computing, all are subscription basis. Like you will use what you will pay, and you will grow as you will pay. So like that, it's a simple funda, but the cloud computing is really, important factor which people are considering at this point of time. But again, there's a lot of gap in the cloud computing as well, like the security part, compliance part. These all are the important measure which we need to consider at the time of choosing the cloud computing. Now, if I'm talking about the cloud computing have majorly like a private cloud and the hybrid cloud or the multi-cloud strategy, I would rather say. None of the customer use the single cloud. It definitely a multi-cloud strategy which the customer normally go with. And the problem is that when it's a multi-cloud strategy, how they will manage that cloud. That is also a very important factor which organizations are thinking at this point of time. So I want to finish with the two things. One is that first is the data protection bill. So you guys must aware of that or listen of that by Modi government have announced the data protection bill, which is in a bill as of now. It is not a law. So data protection bill means a lot for IT organization. There's a lot of business actually. So like if we go to Shoppers Stop and Big Bazaar anywhere, and if you provide your like a name, mobile number, and if that data is leaked from that particular location, and they share it actually intentionally, they share it with the other organization sometime, not all time. But that is called data leakage. So that data leakage is basically need to be prevented, and there is a law which we are expecting to be signed, and then it will be as a mandate from the government, and there is a huge penalty attached to that. So from our organization, in terms of security, we provide a Gemalto card to prevent the data protection and data theft and intrusion, those kind of things. So there is definitely a huge market for that. And another is that data localization. Everything is data nowadays. So I'm talking to you, Biplab is recording this video. So there is a data is generating. We are generating the data. You need to store somewhere in this data. Where you will store? Who will pay for that? So there is a vendor for that, for each and everything where the data is storing. And we are generating the data, humongous amount of data. Now, new rules saying that none of the data can go outside India. Like data has to be reside in India. So there is a lot of data center company, and there are a lot of, like I can say a few company like Yota, Nexent, Control-S, they are providing the data center, huge amount of data center to store the data locally in India. So customer data cannot go outside of India. So these all are the new business opportunity and idea, which maybe it was not there 10 years back. These all are new trend and new technology, which we all are working. And I'm sure you guys are lucky that whenever you guys come up from the college, maybe 1 year or 2 year time, you will see there is a lot of changing in digital era. Earlier, IT was a cost center for a company, like expense. Why you want to increase your expense? Don't increase your expense. Like that IT manager and CIO always creep. But now IT is a part of business, and they are helped to generate the business for the organization. If you are not enabled with your IT, you will not able to manage your logistic, you will not able to manage your warehouse, you will not able to manage your factory, you will not able to manage your customer, you will not able to manage your invoice. Each and everything is related to IT. So I'm sure there is a lot of potential under the IT cell, and there's a lot of market. Yes, market is shifting to a different technology, new technology, and whoever people adopt the technology first, they will be ahead of the race. Suresh, thank you so much. That's all from my side, until unless I have any question.
Thanks so much, Santosh. I just had a couple of questions. Maybe you can take them now or take them later as you will see. One is, I think you're very fortunate to be in an industry which is one of the few industries which must have done well during the pandemic with all this work from home and online classes and all of that. So how was the pandemic been for you in terms of business? And second question is, I guess a lot of your sales would involve personal calls on new potential or existing customers. Mm-hmm. And now that most offices are shut and people are not willing to meet face to face, how did that impact your sales strategy?
Right. So let me answer your first question. First question, as I told you earlier, Dell Technology was 65% was remote workforce enabled. So trust me, I have not faced any issue when we move to the this kind of situation where we are forced to do work from home. Only thing is that I miss my Starbucks coffee and I miss my Sutta bread. Apart from that, there is no changes. Trust me. Everything, each and every application is available. I can sit here, I can close any $1 million deal from here. I no need to go anywhere. So all customer, initially we face an issue where customer is not ready to come online. And they're not ready to talk in like a video how we are talking now. So there was a little bit gap, but slowly customer also understand there is no other way. So either you need to buy, so you need to talk to the vendor. And if you need to talk to the vendor, this is the only way, because no one is going to come at your office at this point of time. So for me, if I'm talking about the personally, there is no much change happen. Even I get more time, family time, stay with my family. So that is the really best part for me. Because sales, always you need to be on road and always you need to be available on call. So from my side, there is no change happen. Now come to your second point. Yes, business impact happened, but it was at initial stage. And it was a global crisis. So people don't know what to do, how to do, and how to address. So definitely almost a month we faced the issue. But again, everything comes with the opportunity. I always strongly believe like focus on the things and things will happen automatically. if you focus on that any particular things. So 1 month there was a huge gap where we do the sales daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. So 1 month there no customer purchased anything. So definitely after 1 month, when they understood this is how they need to do, otherwise the revenue will come down. They will be behind, or they need to shut the shop. There is no other way. There is no other way. For example, ShopperStop. Earlier there was no app, online sale. They always believe that people need to come at our store. They need to explore. They need to try and test it. Then they can buy. So they never used to have any online platform. Now they are coming up with the online platform to increase their sale. Each and every retail company, you can name it, each and every retail company, they are coming up with their own app. So this is how the new normal. So when people understand that, then again we blessed with huge order and sales cycle become very normal. But again, priority has been changed. Earlier CIO priority was different project. They invested as when the requirement come and a different project. Now CIO priority is completely changed to the business continuity plan, maybe the mission critical challenges or issue which they are facing, and they need to address those things first. Did I answer your question, Suresh?
Yes, Santosh. Thanks so much. Over to you, Kaveri.
Kaveri, you are on mute.
Yeah, the stage is all set for Mr. Gaurav. The virtual platform is all yours.
Gaurav, you're on mute.
So am I audible sufficiently? Is that a good?
Yes.
Okay, I'll still hold it like this. Now, I just for everybody, very warm welcome. I mean this opportunity. I really thank Biplab sir and GK sir for being part of student fraternity. I love to be with them, preferably in person, but times have changed, so we will have to live with this. I just, my basically experience or my session will largely be centered around my own real life experiences on ground as a sales head of a business unit. And now some of you can borrow the same as some of the management lessons, people leadership lessons. Some points that I will make may have some consumer trends emerging out of it. Some points really which I will be talking about could broadly be bucketed into crisis management, so on and so forth. So it's just a small PPT that I have shared, but it's very lightweight, and I'm sure you won't get bogged down by complicated charts and Excels, etc. So here it goes. So is the deck visible to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I said, I have kind of structured it very simplistically, basis my lessons in the last 3.5, 4 months. I would like to just sum up what do we do and what my job is all about. So I am a sales and operations head of ITC's FMCG businesses in Telangana state. So all of you in your books would have also read and would have known about the consumer goods industry, how it typically operates. So we have a long supply chain from factories to warehouses to mother hubs to stockists to retailers, etc., etc. And there is a large battery of people who on ITC payrolls, they are typically sales executives and sales managers. And as far as our distributors are concerned, there are many people who are frontline salespeople who go and take orders from kirana shops, grocery outlets, etc., etc. So what it really means is to say that the kind of people that we are dealing with in this industry, including ourselves, in the times of COVID, they have been the people who have been exposed to the COVID reality on ground. And therefore, each and every lesson becomes critical on sales, business continuity, crisis, management, etc. So I'll go slowly, and maybe we can take all the questions at the end. I think that would be better approach. So it's a combination of few failures that we could have done better as a team. Maybe we could have planned. There are key trends which have emerged out of COVID, and some of them may not be centered only around sales function. Some of them could be consumer trends. What are my personal learnings, and how do I see future for a typical FMCG company? That's how I have kind of structured it. Now, this quote is very relevant here, given by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The two underlying words, which is the crisis and thinking ahead, hold the key. And this is regardless of any industry, be it consumer durable, be it technology company, be it internet company, be it Swiggy, be it direct to home company, any company. So this is the biggest lesson in management that each of us is going through. And I'm sure PES students are no exception as far as adoption of technology is concerned and planning their own semesters and sessions is concerned. I will straight away jump onto a supply chain point. Now we talk a lot about on time in full deliveries, and this principle applies at every node in the chain. Factories have to be fulfilled sufficiently. Subsequently, warehouses to be fulfilled sufficiently. A retailer has to be given what he really requires, and all of this has to happen within a given acceptable time frame. That's a norm that a typical FMCG company follows. Now, during COVID, there are 2-3 factors that I have written down in the slide, which is most of the factories were shut down. So people couldn't have manufactured what they wanted to manufacture. There were very varying policies of goods movement across states. And I'm going back to the month of April when it all started. So all of us know that trucks were stranded at the borders. People were not getting supplies. People were manufacturing something. They wanted to supply from Uttarakhand to southern part of the country, but there were no permissions, etc., etc. Then one key learning, and I'm sure all of us will don the hat of a normal citizen instead of being a manager or a student here, that whoever wanted to venture out for a smallest stuff like buying their grocery or kirana, then most of the regulations around COVID were kind of given over to the district administration, which is the collectors, police officials, and magistrates. So there was no single norm which was working. And therefore, what we call in supply chain parlance, which is on time in full, this complete philosophy went for a toss. So that was one area where we struggled initially. We kind of gathered our act, but yes, it took us at least 20-21 days to kind of come together. Coming on to second point, which is again, unpredictable shopper behavior. Now, all of us are used to purchasing a certain type of product from a certain type of outlet. When I talk about a high-end beauty product, let's say, then many of us would go to a very high-end mall and purchase after a lot of scrutiny and choice and selection, all of that. Now, if you have to purchase a 5 rupee biscuit, obviously you will go down to the mini mart, which is at your society's gate, etc. Now, all of this changed. How did it change? Is because people were really fearing to go out. People did not know which outlets or which retailers are open. There was no consistency in the way shoppers were also keeping their shops open. So there was a lot of unpredictability around what purchase are we going to have from what kind of outlets. This is one. Now, what did this lead to? Now, in a typical FMCG environment, there are multiple channels at play. All of us know that there are modern trade, there are key account formats, then there are grocers, kiranas, neighborhood stores, e-commerce, and how much ever I speak about e-commerce, I will only be undermining the importance of this channel in coming times, because it is shooting over the roof in terms of the salience of this channel, in terms of what importance does it hold, in terms of what all assortment does it hold. So as a planner of a sales team, it became really difficult to assess what channel is to be given what importance. And this reflected in our day-to-day activities. We were almost planning and changing and replanning on an almost everyday alternate basis. So the reality of life was, no amount of planning could have helped us, or no amount of planning was good enough to kind of do justice to what market required. Now, again, this is very, very crucial, because we are dealing in an industry which kind of deals with 500 SKUs or separate selling units. Now, forecasting is a very, very important measure. In a typical sales system, what happens is that you need stocks of specific products on time and in full. Now, with consumer behavior changing, and there is a very classic example that I keep quoting, and I was having a discussion with GK sir a few days back also, that most of the staple category items, and when we say staples, it means atta or spices or salt, and so to say semi-staples, which we can call as biscuits, etc. These are our key revenue drivers in ITC as far as foods product is concerned. Now, there was no way that we were able to forecast properly on this, and this was not only pertaining to Hyderabad or Telangana. This was a constraint, or this was a problem across the country, and that is how our factories are also struggling. What my take was that consumers continue to consume more being at home, but a lot of categories which were not so essential took a huge amount of hit. And that is what I mean by saying middle spectrum of our portfolio. Typically, every sales system or every sales function follows a Pareto kind of a principle, that broadly 20-25% of your product portfolio will contribute to 80-85% of the turnover. Now, the balanced portfolio, which is typically the 25% to 50% in terms of numeric, is something which became a huge planning pain, because there was a consumer demand shift. And a classic example is a cream biscuit, for example. Within biscuit portfolio, let's say, we were doing exceedingly well, and we were getting a 2x, 3x kind of demand on very, very basic biscuits like Glucose, Marie, or Snacky, something like that. But when we go to high end or premium creams, then the demand was kind of coming down significantly. And this I'm talking about for the month of April, May, and half of June. So this is something that we observed, which was difficult to plan. Why I'm putting this slides is for you to be able to appreciate how a simplistic portfolio in a crisis can also go for a toss, and what all does it take in terms of localized efforts, a lot of agility in terms of communication systems, in terms of feedback mechanisms that has to go to the planning team, manufacturing team, etc., etc. Because one big fallout of not being able to plan or not being able to feedback properly is that on foods kind of portfolio, you end up sitting on very, very aging or old code dated stocks, which could lead to expiry, and obviously which is a huge cost element to the company's profitability. Now, as I said, the role of a distributor in our operation cannot be undermined. They are the front legs and they are the last mile delivery partners as far as FMCG company is concerned. Now, a very tricky aspect is that you need to understand that the profile of the people who do a typical frontline sales is a semi-skilled or a skilled but not a white collar job, etc. kind of profile. So the hygiene and safety as a practice to be instilled into that entity's mind becomes very, very difficult. Now, this is a typical distributor godown. Now, just imagine that there are at least 25 people in the given space in a non-COVID era. We talk about social distancing, we talk about hygiene, we talk about using hand sanitizers. Now, if there are 20 people who are operating in this godown on a regular basis, and if one has to follow social distancing norms, the biggest learning has been that the operations get impacted, and I'm talking purely in a time efficiency term, by at least 30 to 40%. The photographs here pertain to the typical air fumigation systems that a distributor of ITC in Hyderabad had to kind of follow. And there was a lot of government compliance, there was a lot of vigilation, there were a lot of regulatory norms around all of that. That a distributor has to keep his premise sanitized on a given frequency. So this is what our distributors also had to adapt to. Now, traditional sales and distribution model where one has to go from shop to shop. Typically, every salesman goes to 30 outlet. He takes orders. The delivery happens on the next day. All of this were breaking down because there was a lot of uncertainty around sales force not turning up. And the reasons are very self-explanatory. We require delivery vehicles to deliver our products on the second day. Now, many of the delivery partners were not willing to give us their delivery vehicles because the drivers were not available, the delivery boys were not available. There, one interesting point here is, and one tends to miss such kind of aspects, is that there was a lot of circumspectness around collection of cash because people believed that transaction of cash and exchange of cash could also lead to COVID exposure. Now, this is a simple insight from the ground, which kind of leads to absenteeism of people. So all of this kind of manifested in a lot of efficiency enhancement and planning at our end. Now, obviously, all of us know all of us living in metro cities or tier 1 cities, wherever we are. In the initial 2.5 months, we discovered that there were containment clusters, barricading happening on a very, very dynamic basis. So to be able to do justice to the last mile delivery, there is a lot of uncertainty around that. And there were very unsuccessful sales call. There were returns of deliveries and obviously the loss of sale. So this is purely on account of the dynamics on ground. Now, I am coming more to the solutioning part now. All of this, what I talked about, is largely the problems that any company had to face. What happened was every company kind of understood that a direct to consumer model, which could be a temporary avatar only applicable for COVID, but if it could also be relevant for a long lasting or a more permanent nature, then people started devising all those models. Now, be it Unilever, be it Procter & Gamble, or be it ITC, be it Marico, Nestle, everybody kind of brought in their own avatars of localized apps, direct to consumer models. And believe me, still today, everybody in the FMCG space don't have a very, very foolproof solution to it, because dynamics are changing on ground. People's behavior is very, very uncertain. And I'm purely talking from a consumer standpoint, that one day I'm shopping from e-commerce, the next day me or my wife feels that it is okay to venture out, we are going to a neighborhood kirana. So all of that is happening. Now, just I have specifically mentioned the DMart app here is because DMart is known to be one of the finest service provider or a go-to a single stop shop for any consumer who wants to buy the groceries, etc. Now, if a DMart kind of chain is also feeling the need for a direct to consumer app, then it talks a lot about the extent of behavior change in the consumer. So again, as I said, localization of initiatives was the key. And we at ITC's Hyderabad unit also had many initiatives which were crafted to sail us through for only COVID. But lot of focus was there on integrating direct to consumer as a permanent part of our strategy, as an integral part of our strategy. We are still evolving. We don't have a solution to it, but just a glimpse of what some of our very, very smart executives and managers did in their own small tier towns. Now this photo is about an initiative taken by one of our executives in Warangal city, which is a small city, 6 lakh, 7 lakh population, to reach to societies with ITC's product. Now, I'm sure many companies would have done this, but these initiatives were very, very localized, and people understood that if consumers are not coming out, then can I serve them directly to their gate? Now, this is one of the finest examples of what an enterprising mind can do. And still today, it's a very, very successfully working model, because in Warangal city, the situation on COVID is still very, very risky or tricky. So just to give you a perspective that this model, which is operating at a certain frequency, which is kind of going to certain set of societies on a repeated basis, has already started contributing to 6.5% of our sales, which is a significant number considering how the pressure on business continuity has been. Now, obviously this time, and this is coming.
Sorry, Gaurav, sorry to interrupt. Maybe another couple of minutes.
Yeah, no problem. I'll capture it in 3-4 minutes max.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So obviously the technology adoption was not an option. Everybody had to kind of switch to it regardless of the level of interest, because it was the need of the time. As for now, I'm coming to some category insights that there was a lot of focus and conventional wisdom being back in fashion in terms of cleanliness, hygiene, etc. So we saw a lot of our sanitizers and our personal wash categories suddenly zooming, and categories which never existed in terms of pure household penetration or consumer penetration, retailer penetration, they have suddenly started to clock some massive numbers. So this is one key from a category window. And now, obviously, some of the photographs are how the hygiene practices have percolated down to the last mile. Hand wash or hand sanitizer as a category has, in India, has always been an urban phenomena. But this has necessitated all of us to use and be closer to these categories. Another one on the consumption or the key consumer trend is that out of home consumption, all the pizza parties, all the restaurant dining has kind of completely come to a halt. So it has given rise to a lot of restaurant kind of cooking at home. Now, I expect personally that many of the categories which will take shape or which would be at the planning end of many companies would be the ready to eat categories, the ready to cook categories which are assisting people who have never cooked in their life to learn to cook. So this is how the new trends are also emerging. Now, one key learning has been there is no single model which has worked, and within a single market, not a single model has kind of worked in the last 3 months. So the learning has been that there has to be a hybrid model. However, it has to evolve almost on a month-to-month basis because the situation is evolving. The B2Bs like Udaan, Jumbotail will also play a huge role. So companies like ITC will have to start learning to live with them, probably partnering with them at some level. One biggest learning has been that service in these times has always exceeded discounts. Serviceability in terms of supplier has always exceeded cost, because if a company holds a certain promise, then it might as well live with that promise. Cost becomes secondary because eventually you are in the business of supplying at consumer's door, retailer's door. One personal learning has been that, and this is particularly when dealing with the sales people and retailers, that their urge for discounts and discount as a value proposition has kind of gone down during the COVID. What eventually has mattered is a lot of direct servicing, a lot of human touch in terms of people calling you directly, people taking care of you in terms of your requirements, etc., etc. Now, people safety has preceded business growth, and we have taken specific measures. And I would like to highlight that ITC has been one of the foremost FMCG company to kind of upfront a COVID insurance policy for all of its field people, which is a huge step when you are dealing with 3,000, 4,000 people in a small state like Telangana. So this is one which I believe has a lot to do with the DNA of a company and what will yield dividend in the long term. Some of the COVID test related photographs at our distributor operations after taking the insurance policy, etc. My learning has been that the decision making has to get decentralized. You can't control so many strings from the top when situation is evolving on a day-to-day basis. People lower in the hierarchy have to take judgmental calls, and that is what has been really a successful tactic which has been there. It also helps them to groom them as managers, etc. So many things which have gone wrong is in terms of knee-jerk reactions of many floating partnerships that we have done with the startups on ground. Many have worked, but many have also not worked. So that is what I'm calling knee-jerk reactions to kind of salvage your business, to salvage your sales. So the strategy of a company has always to be inward looking instead of looking too much of competition. Now, last but not the least, this is how my time management has changed. And this is broadly putting that pre-COVID, there was a lot of time which used to go on planning, strategizing, assessment of people, evaluation, progress reviews, etc. But increasingly, a lot of time is going on communication and alignment of people. So that has been the biggest takeaway. This is how our sales reviews are nowadays, on a very, very lighter note. Now, this is social distancing has brought us to. This is how salesmen are being reviewed on a typical 4 p.m. evening. Now, I really difficult to comment how much effective is this, but we are all learning. Again, as I said, play by your strength. There is a large tendency to look at your competition, imbibe competition, borrow from competition. But every company has its own strength, and one should always play by competition, by your own strength in the times of crisis. As a leader, it is always critical to lead by example, because if you are expecting your people to venture out, you have to showcase yourself that you are also at the front line. You are also in the line of fire at the same level of exposure if you want people to also work along as team. And on a very, very lighter note, I have never been a technological enthusiast, but in the last 2 months, by doing so many Zoom call meetings, I have learned that if background noises are there on Zoom calls, it's perfectly fine, because people are working from home. There are many people in many specific conditions working from home. So it is absolutely perfect to keep the environment little informal. So that's all from my side. Kaveri, GK sir and Biplab sir, I hope I have been able to summarize some bit of what I have seen and gone through.
Thanks a lot, Gaurav.
I'll stop sharing maybe this slide. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions? I'll be happy to take.
Yeah, I think that
we
there are quite a
have
few questions already. Yeah, Kaveri.
Yes, exactly, sir. So thank you both, Mr. Santosh and Mr. Gaurav, for enlightening us, for being so knowledgeable and telling us so many facts. So we'll just dive right into the questioning. So there's the first question by Sanjay Kumar. How do you see grocery shopping behavior of customer on e-commerce versus brick and mortar down the lane 5 years from now?
Okay. So I'll kind of try to answer it going 2.5, 3 years back, that we have been going gung-ho over the importance of modern trade and e-commerce in the last 3 years. But there is one learning that I have picked up, is that neighborhood kiranas are there to stay. If at all, their importance has already been reinforced, because people can't venture more than maybe 100 meters, 200 meters. There are different kind of restrictions. Yes, but the assortment that a grocery shop will carry or will end up carrying may significantly change, because eventually everybody has to manage his supply chain. Consumers are flocking to e-commerce portal for a certain type of products. Now, if it's a one-time monthly shopping, then people like me, like say, go to DMart or maybe Spar and buy. There are monthly toppings in the middle of the month that you do by ordering from e-commerce portal. Then there is another level of very ad hoc requirement which comes in terms of grocery shopping. However, we need to understand that every consumer is in a different stage of evolution as far as technological friendliness is concerned. The penetration of e-commerce, the usership of e-commerce in so many tier 2, tier 3 markets and below is still very, very minimal. So I don't see that grocery shopping as a phenomena is going to decline. Only thing that is that the importance is also only gone up. From a supplier side, the propensity to service them even more has only gone up, if at all they were being ignored in any manner so far. I hope I have been able to answer this question, Sanjay.
Yeah, Kaveri, in the meantime, you can carry on with the other questions.
Yeah, so the next question, it's by Raghavendra MS. How is the technology companies educating the healthcare industries about new need of technology in managing the business?
Okay, so let me take this question.
Yeah, that is meant for you, Santosh.
Right. So I like to give you a small case study or example over here, the Manipal Hospital. So each and every healthcare and hospital, they are now providing the online consultancy service. They are not telling to patient to come at hospital and do the testing. So they are doing, you don't need to come, we will do through a webinar or we do through Zoom call, and we will give you the prescription and everything you can purchase online. Now the new initiative has been taken by the Apollo Hospital, which I read in newspaper. They are doing some additional apart from their core business, which they are coming up to the society and they are sanitizing the society. So there are different steps which they are following. So this all of the strategy to survive. So hospital, always we think there will be patient and there will be hospital, OT and everything. But Apollo, what they have thought, they're coming to the society and sanitize the society, and they're doing the health checkup of the society in behalf of Apollo and a subscription basis. So if you pay and you can avail the service for your society. So that's a very good initiative. Manipal Hospital is full of technology. All the patient started from the reception. It is using the client computing. In the OT, there is a lot of device you can see. Without IT, your operation will be not performed any point of time. So definitely there is a lot of impact on the technology in healthcare.
Thank you, Mr. Santosh. So I'll be moving on to the next question. It's a question for Mr. Gaurav, I suppose. HUL has Shikara app for its retailer or distributor to keep up with the demand. Does ITC too have had such platform prior to the pandemic, or has ITC come up with something like an online platform specifically for distributor retailer such that there isn't any resistance in the supply chain?
Okay, so I think this question is in two parts. First of all, whether ITC had such an app prior to the pandemic. The answer is no. We have our technology-enabled order taking devices, which are with our salespeople, which are not with the retailers. So that is on the first part of the question. Now, does ITC plans to come up with something like this online platform specifically for distributors, retailers, such that there is not any resistance? Now, see, one part here is, and this is my strong belief that in the current times, it is always good to seek partnerships rather than trying to do everything on your own. Okay, so is ITC currently working on any app like this? So the answer is no. How are we tackling with this? Is obviously we have our website portal, and that website portal is called ITC eStore. That is operational in around 9 to 10 cities in the country. Now, a larger question or the debate is around the awareness of this portal that ITC has such and such platforms where consumers can directly go. So to put simplistic terms, it is like any Amazon platform. However, it only has ITC product. So that is the website that I'm talking about. As far as retailers is concerned, so I would reinforce the point that you're all aware of the Udans of the world who are kind of doing this parallel business of going to retailers, enrolling them, partnering with ITC kind of companies as far as supply chain is concerned. So I think the strategy going forward for ITC is to look at what portion of the market can best be served by partnering with Udan, rather than trying to themselves get into development of apps, educating retailers, equipping them with the entire system once again. So I think that is the way ITC wants to traverse in coming times. That's my take on it.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav. So the next question is for Mr. Santosh. It's from Vivekanand VH. There are many officials working from home. Some have their office laptops and some work on their own system or laptop. If in case there is some issue with their system or laptop, how would Dell reach out to such customers?
All right. So first of all, you are not supposed to use your personal laptop for official work. This is not recommended by the Microsoft or by the Dell. Even Microsoft have two different OS version. One is the home version, and another is the professional version, like Pro, Windows 10 Pro. So home laptop and consumer, we would call it consumer laptop. These are the two completely different segments in any of the IT hardware. Either you can tell the competition or Dell. So we have two kind of laptop, consumer and the commercial. So consumer definitely is not recommended to use your official purpose, not because of your own laptop, because of your official data. Because whatever you are accessing, your office data, it is not secure. So your office people should not give the permission. It's a vice versa case. Either you are not supposed to use, or your office should not allow that to use your official data, because your consumer series or laptop and commercial series laptop is completely different. You guys are talking about the spec, like i7, i5, 8 Gen, and all those stuff. But what I'm talking here is not at all related to spec. The same spec can be a consumer and a commercial, and there is a difference which in terms of the security, manageability, and the scalability part. And the build quality of the material, what we are providing for the commercial segment of notebook is completely different than the consumer series. And then come to the support part. Support is also a very important part which we need to maintain for the corporate. But consumer, we have a different set of support where you need to carry your laptop at nearest service center, and we provide the service for that. For commercial, we have the on-site support. Again, on-site support, we have a various kind of support. Like, for example, if you call any Dell tech support any point of time, it will be a telephonic troubleshooting over the call. Once the troubleshooting is done, then Dell engineer will come, send the part will come, then engineer will come separately. So this is how the process is. Suppose some laptop is going to use by a CXO level team and they are not okay with the troubleshooting. So they will go for the 6-hour CTR, that is call to resolution, where we will sign the agreement with the organization that if your laptop is down, any part of your location, maybe that location is a tier 1 or tier 2, there is a supportability chart which is available based on the pin code number. We will replace the laptop part on and before 6 hours. So we have a different type of support mechanism. And then the product eco life cycle of the product. Consumer, the life cycle is 3 years. You cannot extend the warranty beyond 3 years. Commercial, you can extend the warranty up to 7 years. And we can promise the same laptop I will deliver in India, I will deliver in Germany, and I will deliver in US or UK. All the location uniformly, you will get the same laptop to get the same kind of experience. But commercial laptop, the case is not the same. Hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Santosh. So the next question, as a majority of our audience is students, it's by Jessie Naya, our ma'am. So to Mr. Santosh, what should be the 1 or 2 key hand skills required for MBA students preparing for a role in tech organization?
Okay, there's 2 things. One is definitely you need to be a salesperson. Sales is the common thing. You need to know how to sell. So even Gaurav is selling some other product which I am not aware of. I'm not exposed to that. And I was listening very carefully about that industry. And our industry is something different. So sales is the common. If let me consider that MBA, you guys are doing sales and you are supposed to do sales. Then I would say technology is a daily changing, weekly changing, daily changing, or monthly changing, however you say. You need to be updated about the new technology and new trend of the market. Whatever maybe you are learning now, after 1 year, that will be not relevant. So you need to continuously update. And once you start updating yourself, you need to pick up only one technology. If you remember my presentation, I was little fast and I cover many things. I don't know how many points you guys understand. Cloud computing, edge computing, each and every topic, there is almost a 1-day session. I can talk about those entire day. Storage virtualization. So it is always recommended you pick up one technology which you wanted to be master on that. And so people acknowledge that fact and you will get job easily on particular that technology. And then continuous upgrade is definitely required.
Right. So the next question, to elaborate, in USA, inside Salesforce is more than on-field or almost 50-50. Do we see increase in job offers are in inside sales when compared to outside or on-field sales?
So inside sales concept is very unique to Dell. So if you see the Dell journey, we have started this inside sales and it is very successful. There is a lot of other companies try to copy that model, but they are not very successful. And as of now, we have the largest in the world, the inside sales team, where they support us for the outside sales prospects. So ratio will be almost equal, the outside sales and inside sales. So inside sales engine is basically to reach out to the customer daily basis, more frequent. And so it will be, easy access for each and every team member, that customer can talk to one person who's sitting in the front of laptop and can do his own work and send the quotation, take the pricing, send the quotation. But for us, outside sales, we really don't focus on the sending the quotation. Yes, we involve in that, but we try to generate the large business because, customers sometimes don't aware of what is their pain point. For simple example, if I talk about the ITC, if I visit the ITC, if ITC is my account at this point of time, I would definitely pitch them the online platform. An online platform, when I will start pitching them, then definitely a lot of associate hardware, software, everything will come together. So that could be a solution which we can offer the ITC at any point of time. So definitely there will be importance of inside sales and the outside sales, and this actually thing is going really good with the Dell. So we really don't want to change anything at this point of time. And it will be a balance. Always it will be a balance.
Okay. So the next question by Shashank. How can acquisition of Sunrise Foods can affect ITC Limited in this pandemic? Moreover, Sunrise is confined to the West Bengal and certain eastern parts.
Okay, now this is a very, very strategic question which is being asked. First of all, the acquisition of Sunrise shouldn't be looked from a COVID angle. I'm sure the M&A team and the corporate team of ITC has worked a lot on why Sunrise is a right fitment, first of all. Now, the categories and the kind of brands that Sunrise has in the eastern part of the country, ITC believes that it will give them a very, very strong lever in the category of spices. And to give you all a small perspective that ITC Ashirwad spices, as of now, we do sell across the country, but we are a very, very significant player only in 3 to 4 states. So that's a strategic bet that ITC has placed on acquiring Sunrise Food, because it believes that with such a strong distribution presence, if they can have on board a brand which is a very, very old brand, established brand, reputed brand, I think it will give a lot of wings to ITC's ambitions in the staples category. That's how I see this.
Okay. So the next question is by Anand. If every company is planning direct to customer, how many companies do you think can sustain in this change? What kind of companies do you think will be beneficial from this strategy?
This is a fantastic question, and I should appreciate that. See, so as I said, the need of the hour during the COVID was direct to consumer. And the key reason was that everybody wanted to sustain sales, everybody wanted to grow sales, and everybody wanted to increase the share of household consumption out of his company's or her company's offering. So that was the reason. Now, obviously, if Britannia did wonderfully well in certain parts of the country, in those parts of the country, probably Nestle could not do well, or there are many players, because of manufacturing, because of their feet on ground, because of stringent policies, because of safety issues, or it's a company policy kind of issue. They could not mobilize things quickly on ground. And nothing against a particular company, but as far as my understanding from the market goes, and you must have seen Nestle results for Q1. Nestle has struggled big time in the country as far as COVID performance is concerned. And one of the reason could be the mobilization of operations on ground. Whichever company was able to do it quickly kind of benefited. On the question of how much sustainable are these direct to consumer models are, the plain answer is I don't think out of 20 established companies in a market like Hyderabad, if maybe 4 or 5 could also do them properly, I will have a lot of regard for those kind of initiatives, primarily because we need to remember that direct to consumer models are very expensive models, and you are really not closer to an assured demand. When you go to a retailer, then you are dealing with an aggregate demand. There is a certain pattern of buying at that retailer's end. The more you go down, the more you are facing the uncertainty in demand. Obviously, the sustainability is a big question mark. Whatever anybody is doing right now is purely to tide over the sales pressure and kind of sustain the sales growth, etc. But one factor is very, very crucial to making it successful is what is the mix of your portfolio that you can sell through direct to consumer. If you are selling a very, very voluminous or low cost or low price mix, then your cost as a function of your sales is always going to be unmanageable. And therefore, for a company like ITC, Britannia, Hindustan Lever, what mix are you selling through direct to consumer is very, very crucial. And at ITC here in Hyderabad, our focus is in that direction only.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Santosh and Mr. Gaurav, for answering all the queries. And there are many other questions as well, but we are running short of time. And we'll make sure all the other participants' questions will definitely be answered. And now I hand over to GK sir.
So thank you so much, Santosh, Gaurav. I think we got, the idea was to get two people from sales from two very different industries. And it is very interesting to know different perspectives coming from both of you. Dell, which seems to be rocking the world through the pandemic, and ITC, which is kind of obviously struggling at a very micro level, but also finding its feet kind of slowly. Obviously, very, very different industries and different set of categories. Thank you so much. Lots of questions more. If it is okay with you, gentlemen, can we send those questions across to you?
Yes, yes.
And whenever you have time, if you could kind of respond to them, and we will get back to the participants.
Definitely, definitely. That's a really good idea.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. And
yes,
just one point here, GK sir, that the presentation did not have any numbers, but since you will be able to connect, ITC in and out. We are growing in foods by around 30% here in Hyderabad, and around 60-65% in our personal care business. So yeah, struggle was there initially, but it's a function of consumer demand. How much are we able to mobilize things? It's a combination of all of that. So has been a
that's great news. I mean, your growth rate seems to be as much, if not better, than Dell's growth rate.
Difficult to compare industries. I don't know how.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. So, but thank you so much to both Gaurav and Santosh. Thanks a lot for taking some time off, being a part of this webinar and speaking to all of us. Biplab.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks to Kaveri for moderating the session.
It was a great opportunity given, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm back now. So as you know that it's a regular process. I am here to announce the next session's speakers. So we'll be having our next session on August 8th. So that would be our fourth session in this series of webinar, right? As we had a very nice speaker from the first, second and third session. So in our fourth session, we are basically focusing on financial services industries. So we'll be focusing on the financial issues, how during this pandemic, financial services industries are doing and what kind of challenges they are facing, how they are strategizing their businesses. So for that, we are going to have with us Mr. C.S. Sudhir. He is basically the managing director of IndianMoney.com. I don't know, people from Bangalore might be aware of IndianMoney.com. So he's the managing director of that, and they provide the financial services to the individuals, groups, industries, etc. and etc. And we'll be having Mr. Shreyas M. Rao, COO of Carl Zeiss, right? If I had pronounced it correctly, JK. Carl Zeiss.
I think so. Yeah, it's a German name. You can pronounce it any way you want.
Yes. So he also will be joining us on August 8th. So I hope that all of you will be joining back again on that day. And probably the first one was also related with marketing. We have talked about the insurance. We have talked about the IT logistic. Then second one, we were having a discussion on advertising industries. And this was really a nice experience. I was listening so carefully that both both the goods sectors are really required. One is FMCG products and etc., which we need every day in our day-to-day life, and the computer system and technology is becoming part of our everyday's life, right? So I was listening very carefully. So thanks. I would like to thank both Mr. Gaurav and Mr. Santosh Banerjee taking out their time and being with us. I hope that all participants got benefited from the discussion. Of course, due to the shortage of our time, we could not take few questions, but as GK mentioned, that we'll be forwarding those questions to the speakers, and we'll get back to the participants again. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Vice Chancellor of PES University, then Chairperson of the Department of Management Studies, Dr. Veena A, then Professor Deepak Anand, and the PESU media team, who had helped us back end to set up everything. Other than their help, I don't think it would have been possible. So we could successfully completed our third session in this series. Of course, thanks to my colleague, GK. He agreed to, and he is a very experienced person in this sales, and I know him very well, that he knows in and out of his areas. And of course, Kaveri, she agreed.
But Biplab, I must say that when I was in ITC, we never had this kind of growth rates that Gaurav is delivering now.
Okay. But he had already mentioned that he had learned so many things from you only. So don't worry, you can take the credit off. And Kaveri for an excellent moderation, right? So thank you all. Thanks to all our participants. So please join us again on August 8th. And of course, you will get the intimation in 1 or 2 days, and we'll be in touch with you all. So anything else, GK? Final two-liner?
Nothing else. All the best to both Gaurav and Santosh for your respective businesses. I can see that a lot of hard work has gone in. Just praying that the pandemic is kind of goes away pretty quickly. I mean, not only for the businesses, for all of us across the world, I think. And and thanks so much for sharing your experiences, and wish you both the very best, both in your life as well as in your business.
Thank you so much, Suresh. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kaveri. Thank you, Biplab sir.
Thanks, Kaveri. Thanks,
Thank
Biplab.
you.
Being an host, I'm closing the session here.
Absolutely.
So just a notice to the participants.
Okay.
Please do fill the feedback forms in order to get your e-certificates.
Yes, that is very important. Please fill your feedback form. Okay, so thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.